our execution in all three phases has not been to our standard.
It's hard to go out there and go have 3 wins right now.
There's definitely a learning curve, and we'll continue to develop that.
You could have asked the same thing last year.
I do my job. I'm one of 11.
This is my first time playing. I'm not a rookie no more, so I can't use that as an excuse.
My target is to win these next 2 games.
I'm doing whatever I can to win every snap.
You know, hopefully next year it'll be way better than before.
As a team, we got to dictate who the we are.
Oh yeah, you gotta put some book out gear on.
Welcome on into the Serpentini Chevy tailgate. There's the scene today. Huntington Bank Field, Browns and Dolphins, certainly un-Miami-like weather. Not cold. For here, it's pretty dang warm, pretty wet. Dolphins favored by 3.5. Mark Schwab, Eric Metcalf, Josh Cribbs with you on a Sunday morning. Gentlemen, the Dolphins updated the injury report, and they have had Tua now listed as doubtful, which usually means you don't play. Sometimes a guy plays undoubtful, it's considered 25% chance. Could be the Tyler Huntley show today for Miami. How did this news hit you?
You know, it hits me like, later in the year where, they're looking at the Cleveland Browns and they feel like a Tyler Huntley, can put up numbers against this Browns team. And they're looking at Tua, who has been banged up, and they're trying to, baby their franchise quarterback. And, maybe baby isn't the right word, but take care of him, extra precaution against a team like the Cleveland Browns.
Right, I look at it and I see like they've taken the view that he's been hurt when he's played. And so we're looking towards the future, like you said. We want him to be ready for the future because we've invested a lot of money in this guy. And when he's out there playing, he's able to do well. But because playing, like you said, playing the Browns at this time of the year, let's save him and see what happens.
So normally Skylar Thompson for years had been his backup. This year, though, they brought in Tyler Huntley because he was cut loose by the Cleveland Browns. They had Huntley in camp. They had 4 quarterbacks, the 3 they have now, and Huntley. I was surprised they took DTR over Huntley, but he becomes now the latest in a very long list of quarterbacks to take over since Marino. This is almost as bad as that long list the Browns have had.
I was just thinking that.
This is exactly what you think of. And by the way, I've heard, stops along the way. People talk about when somebody doesn't want to go there, but they never say they shouldn't go to Miami. I'd like to know why, if you haven't had a good quarterback since Dan Marino. But it's kind of a separate show, but anyway.
Because they're talking about off the field. Right? When they think of Miami, they're not thinking about actually playing there as a quarterback. They're thinking about everything that surrounds Miami. But, they haven't been good with quarterbacks just as the Browns haven't been over the past few years. And you get Tua, and that's why I go back to the fact that they want to save him because they need someone to be the guy like they had with Marino.
And a team like the Dolphins, they feel like that's all they're missing. Like they've had pieces to the puzzle. They've had great defensive linemen, offensive linemen, running backs, skilled guys, but they were just missing that important piece, the main piece, the quarterback position. But if you look at a guy like Tyler Huntley, and if you see if he were still on our roster, that he would have played several times over, in my opinion. Him and Jameis Winston would have been going back and forth, especially throughout the the interception issues dealing with Jameis Winston. Regardless of how many yards he's been throwing at, we'd have just had a better feel for winning under a Tyler Huntley versus DTR.
Tyler Huntley went to the Pro Bowl a couple of years ago.
Absolutely.
Backup quarterback with Baltimore. All right, check this out. So this is Jerry Jeudy last week. Only 3 targets, 2 catches, 20 yards, and then we heard this from DTR.
Yourself getting off of him too quickly.
Yeah, for sure. Again, I'm trying to go through my reads. We hadn't really practiced them doubling Jerry as much as they did, so kind of had to adjust on the fly.
All right, so clear this up for me, because that sounds weird. He is clearly your best receiver. Is it not automatic you would just kind of double a team's best receiver? Like, why didn't they plan for that?
You can blame preparation, right? You can. But preparation for your backup quarterback to go out there and try to win a game, coaches lighten their load as much as possible and make it simple. You know, it's this term called KISS, keep it simple, stupid. And when you're dealing with a quarterback against an NFL defense, if you give him too much, then he's out there overthinking, and he's not able to deliver and do the little things right. So if you're thinking about, you know, counterintelligence and you're trying to factor in the offense and the game plan, and then now you got to understand that, you know, maybe, you know, they're going to double your best receiver. They just didn't, you know, count on the respect that Judy garnered. But I explained that to you guys last week. Like, you know, the production from these skill guys, and Judy being that one, and he had over 1,000 yards, that he would take a hit, fantasy-wise, production-wise, all across the board. And he did. It's just that's just what's going to happen when you have a backup quarterback.
But here's the thing. For me, it goes to coaching, because Justin Jefferson is getting double-teamed. Jamar Chase is getting double-teamed, but they still find ways to get these guys the ball. So for him to say we weren't ready for that, that's preparation, as we said, and we're not getting there.
All right, well, let's see. Hopefully he gets more than 3 targets today. The tailgate off and running. We do an in-show poll every week. Who will have more receiving yards, the cheetah or Jerry Jeudy? Cleveland19.com/vote. Place to go to get in on this. We'll talk about it later in the program. Back in a flash on the tailgate.
And you don't want to see him. You don't.
What would getting that 14 sacks mean to you to be the only one to do that in 4 straight years?
I think that'd be pretty damn cool. You know, stand alone in that regard. And again, you know, something that my dad can look back on and be appreciative of. You know, big on making him proud, because you know he's a big football guy, and you know his drive and love for the game, you know, became my own. You know, that's all starting up. So it's pretty cool to be able to, you know, give back.
Follow the money. Sponsored by Cardinal Credit Union.
All right, DeShaun Watson in the news recently because of his contract, of course. It's the albatross. It's the burden that this team can't get out from. And now it feels like they are definitely, absolutely hanging on to him for the next 2 years because they restructured. The cap hits are enormous. Gentlemen, buckle in. Everyone should just settle in, right? This guy's not going anywhere.
Well, he wasn't going anywhere, right? It wasn't like DeShaun and his camp was going to agree to not be guaranteed $176 million, however much it added.
Right.
That was just not going to happen. But what he did allow was for the money to be spread out to give them cap space, to be able to bring in another quarterback, to be able to pay other guys to bring talent around him. And I'm sure that's how they laid it out to him in his representation is, we need guys to be able to protect you. We need offensive line. We got to pay him. We need more receivers, running backs for you. But rightfully so, that's not a big issue, I don't think. I think he could have even, put a lot of it at the back of his contract, a lot more of it, because it's guaranteed. It's going to come.
We knew he wasn't going in. We knew he wasn't going
Right.
in based on his contract. But like you said, it gives the team flexibility to make this team better. And they know that he's going to be here. So in order to make him look better, they have to get people around him who are better. And I think that's what they're working towards. And as long as he can come back healthy and do his thing, then I think they have a good chance of doing that.
Yes, maybe something you don't want to hear.
Right.
Especially as a fan base, but we got to kind of take, suck that up.
Well,
I was about to say, it's one of those things where you might not like it, but you know it's coming, so you better accept it.
This also, here's the other thing. He might not be going anywhere in the sense that he's still on the roster. If they bring in a quarterback, they could end up with DeShaun Watson just being the priciest backup quarterback in the history of the NFL. They would look ridiculous for doing that, but they already look ridiculous. So you might as well try to find a way to win, and that could be the case, right? He could be in the room, but he gets beat out for the job.
It's okay. It's different scenarios, but they only look ridiculous if he's not playing and they're not winning, and someone else is in that quarterback. They won't look ridiculous if somebody else is playing and we're winning games. Then DeShaun becomes an afterthought. But let's not be mistaken or confused or mishandled. DeShaun will have an edge on anyone they bring in. They're going to do everything they can for him to get back to the tip-top shape he needs to be to start week 1. And if things go down from there, they'll be ready to make an easy transition with whoever they brought in.
I think from an organizational standpoint, no one wants to be wrong. And so they're hoping that he can come back healthy and be the DeShaun Watson that they paid.
Absolutely.
I think that's why they restructured to try to get people around it.
They badly want this trade to work out. It clearly hasn't. I guess you never know. Browns and Dolphins today at 4, excuse me. Would have been a national television game. Instead, they just moved it. It's a regional thing. Judy running away with this one so far. Cleveland19.com/vote.
They got like a lot of fast guys, so a D-line going to have to run. A 3-tech's going to have to get from that whatever outside nose of the guard to the sideline, and that nose going to have to get from that inside nose of the guard to the sideline. So a D-line got to run, and we got to tackle too.
Now, the Big Run Report, sponsored by Dunkin'.
Big Run Report. We're talking Devon Achane. He is the playmaking running back for Miami. And of all, they've got Tyreek Hill, one of the biggest names out there. You got Jalen Waddle, who is a first-round pick. Their leading receiver is a running back. Hashtag Eric Metcalf likes this. What do you guys make out of this? That it's not Cheetah. It's not the first-round pick. It's the third-round running back who's a little scat guy leading the team in catches.
Yeah, I feel like, and I know Eric likes this, but teams are respecting their receivers. They're down the field passing game. You can't let Cheetah, not even on Madden, you respect Cheetah. You always play a defense, which is bail technique, so you don't get beat deep by these speed receivers. And that's number one when you're talking about, defensive coordinator. So what's left? You got to check down. Take what the defense give you. They're downfield covering these guys, running all over the place. You got a good running back who can catch the ball and make moves happen, and that's what's been successful for them.
Right, when they got Cheetah and Waddle, like you said, these guys are deep threats, and Tua throws a very good deep ball, and so teams are defending this well. They're like, we're not giving up the big play. You're going to have to methodically drive the ball down the field, and that's where Achane comes in because it's extended run. You just throw the ball to him, and he can do the things from out the backfield.
Real quick, what was it like for you trying to convince coaches to use you the way teams use Achane back then, because football was different?
Well, all these offensive geniuses at the time didn't know how to play, call offense like they do today. So I wanted to be that guy who can be out there every down, run the ball, and catch some balls because it puts you in space. And so when you're in space, you can make guys miss and score touchdowns. So it's just extended runs if you throw out a swing pass or a flat route. And that's what I really wanted to do. But it was hard because back then it was run the ball in between the tackles, smash mouth football.
All right, so we do this thing called blind resumes. Producer Chris takes 2 resumes, pops them on the screen. Which one, this is not trying to guess who it is, which one would you rather have this year?
I like touchdowns.
I do too.
But something tells me that player 1 will be the better guy.
Let's go with player 2, because the tutties and the big reveal. Drum roll, please. Jerome Ford versus Josh Allen. I would much rather have Josh Allen because he could also play quarterback.
That is remarkable.
Right.
We chose right.
Right, but Josh Allen, they get to the goal line. They're running. He's running.
Well, he also had a few scrambles. He'll take off on you in a heartbeat.
He's a big guy.
How weird is it that your running back is being outrun by another team's quarterback?
Well, that's the dude for the offensive line. That has nothing to do with, that just speaks to that old line, right? I mean, I would guess so.
Look here. Look here. Josh Allen is a superstar, and so he has the ball in his hands.
But he shouldn't have more rushing yards than Eric Metcalf, and
I would
not
hope
that Jerome Ford is Eric Metcalf, but I'm just saying.
But he splits time as well, though.
Okay, yeah,
He splits time. He's been injured a little bit, and so
they are running back by committee. You're right.
Running back by committee.
Right.
The line hasn't been extremely good. That's what we get.
Hey, Jerome, a couple of weeks with 60-yard runs. He's starting to hit some explosives. Maybe he passes him by year's end. The tailgate continues right after this.
Truthfully, it's mostly personal, just like how my body feels, you know, going into another season. You know, like the game, like it's an amazing game, like blessed to play it, but it's a stressful game. Like you put a lot on your body. Like how are you going to feel in 10 years or 15 years or 20 years? You know, and so we'll just go from there, talk with the family, and kind of see where we're at.
Now the Pigskin Poll, sponsored by Hyundai.
All right, so we do this every week. Take a poll question, put it on the news, ask you all to vote. You vote, we talk about it here on the show. This was the question this week. Will Joel Bitonio be enshrined in the Hall of Fame as he's considering retirement? The question is not should he be. It is will he be? And I didn't include a maybe because I hate it when people try to live in the gray. Gentlemen, let's say he hangs it up. Do you think he is enshrined in Canton?
I think eventually. I think it's not going to be first ballot. It's not going to be, you know, first few years after. I think eventually, when his beard is gray and he has children that's grown, then he will.
Your beard is gray.
My beard is gray.
Your beard is gray.
But all my children ain't grown. And when they grow up a little bit more, maybe I get in.
I'm going to have to say no, although he's been a great player for the Cleveland Browns, because they haven't been winning. They haven't been to a Super Bowl. And so a lot of times guys are thought of because their team went to the Super Bowl, and that's when they get the support. I liken this to Clay Matthews, whose stats are better than a lot of guys in the Hall of Fame who played linebacker, and he's not in because his team didn't go to the Super Bowl. And so that's how I see Joe Bitonio, a very good player for this organization, but because of not winning the Super Bowl or even getting in one, it'll be hard.
I'm with you on that. Let's take a look at the results, and 60% say yes. For what it's worth, I went and checked guards that had been enshrined in like the last 20, 30 years. Joel has enough Pro Bowls. They're all 6 or more. A little lacking in All-Pro. He's 2-time All-Pro. The lowest I saw was 3. Some were 4, 5, 6. So he's like on the edge of the neighborhood. Coupled with the Browns being bad, I think it hurts him. I'll be surprised if he gets in, but if he gets in, he's certainly deserving. Let's put a football spin on this. If he retires after this year, what does this do to the Browns' offensive line? Because he is their best guy by far.
Well, the Browns are already in a position to have to renew or rebuild that offensive line. It's just no way you cannot address the offensive line in the draft and free agency to go into next season and to appease a guy like Myles Garrett, to appease even DeShaun Watson or whoever your quarterback is. You have to address the offensive line. So that's something that 1 or 2 guys won't do it. They're going to have to bring in depth as well. You're going to have to bring in backups that'll be able to go in and not miss a beat. So let's not, confuse the fact that if we lose one guy, but the mission is to rebuild the offensive line or, renew it.
And this is why you restructure the quarterback's contract, right? Yep. So you can go get somebody, like you said, whether it be through the draft or through free agency, because they have to be better, because they were bad, really bad in the beginning of the season. Granted, there were injuries, but they have to be better in order to get what we want out of this offense.
You feel like it's one of those, this whole room needs rebuilt, right? But you lose your best guy, man, that rebuild takes a whole different spin. Because he's been so good. And the other thing, this never really gets talked about with Joel, he could kick out and play tackle in a pinch. He's only had to do it a couple of times. But when he went out there, he was fine. He's a very versatile player, outstanding offensive lineman for the Browns. Tailgate continues right after this. Cleveland19.com/vote. Today's in-show poll. Who will have more yards receiving? Jerry Jeudy or the Cheetah? Let us know. We'll talk about it later in the show.
for the last 2 weeks, we can really see who's on board moving forward and who is ready to get out. It's just part of the game. I've been on a couple teams where we're out of it, and it's interesting to watch the practice habits, the preparation habits. Hopefully we'll do the right thing, and that means a lot because everybody's watching.
Now, around the AFC, sponsored by Toyota dealers.
Every time I see Aaron Rodgers on TV, I just get, it's like sad. It's just depressing. Just like a dried up husk of his old self, and nobody likes him. His team's bad. Am I right?
You're right.
You said you'd fight him earlier in the year.
And what's funny, and that's what's crazy, is that during his time in Green Bay, if you would ask me what quarterback I would want, I would always say him because his arm talent and what he could do. And now to see him with the Jets, as you said, on a losing team and just being a shell of himself, I don't like to see that.
Who's the Jets offensive coordinator? I just think that, you know, when you look at him, he's been with a guy. He's always been with top tier head coaches. You know, he hasn't led like a Tom Brady and Belichick. It wasn't that dynamic. He was, you know, he was in a system and playing very well around talented guys. Yep. Now he has few talented guys at the, you know, coaching level now, and you know, they're cycling through head coaches, and he's actually running the team, and that's not you know, he's not Tom Brady. I could say that he's, you know, as far as like, you know, running a team.
Nathaniel Hackett, by the way, is the OC.
Okay.
We had in Green Bay. But they've also fired a head coach, a GM. That organization is in a little bit.
I think age plays a factor in that as well. He can't move at all out the pocket. He's not a threat. So they blitz him. They come after him. And his guys aren't the, you know, he's not playing with Devontae Adams in his prime. So
you get older, of course, and then, of course, the Achilles. And so that sets you back.
Here's the playoff picture in the AFC right now. Bengals still in the hunt after that dandy of a finish last night with Denver. Cade York should never be allowed in a clutch situation again. But the Steelers still thoroughly in this thing. Mike Tomlin talking about coaching guys up this week. Take a listen. I want to get your reaction to something here.
Mike, when you're the head coach in one place for as long as you have been, how do you go about ensuring that your voice is fresh for players, and two, how do you avoid, you know, like burnout in a profession that really can promote it?
You know, that question's easy for me. I love what I do. It's my job and my hobby, so burnout is not a component of the equation for me. I'm excited each and every week about the challenges that this role provides me and us. In regards to the messaging getting stale, I work with extreme urgency because I realize the careers of these players are short. And so my audience is forever changing. And so I'm less concerned about getting stale, and I'm more concerned about matching the urgency that is the short careers of most of these players.
You hear things in football like sometimes either the game passes somebody by or sometimes it's just time for a new voice. You never hear that with Mike Tomlin.
He's the guy, man. I love him as a coach. I hate that he coaches for the Steelers. His mentality, you know, everything he brings to the game, you know, you respect it. Just like he stood on the 50-yard line to me as a coach and beat his chest and said, Cribbs, respect. I respect him as a coach and what he brings to the game and to these young athletes. He's always spoken to the coaching aspect, how he takes it game by game, week by week, and he loves that aspect of it. When other coaches falter or says this guy's a problem, he's like a Belichick. You bring him here, they fall in line under the culture that Tomlin presented, and they're always in the playoffs because of it. They're always above 500 because of it, and they clinched this year because of that.
Yeah, if I were in the league today, I would want to play for Mike Tomlin because he's a real coach. He gives it to you 100, and that's what you want as a player. And it might not go your way. You might not get the ball like you want, or you might not be blitzing like you want on defense, but at the same time, he's going to let you know why and what you're trying to accomplish with this franchise, and that's why they keep winning. That's why they've had 4 coaches in their existence.
And a lot of people don't coach anymore at the NFL level. You either do it or you don't. You go to him, he actually coaches you.
They've had 3 coaches since like the 60s. When we come back, we're talking Jameis DTR. I want to talk to you guys about coaching up your backup, i.e. the guy who might take your job. Cleveland19.com/vote. Place to get in on the poll. Back in a flash on the tailgate.
Now the Quick Picks, sponsored by Kia.
Good. Good job. Good job.
What does your role become now going forward?
Serving his team. What's important is us finishing the season strong, me getting behind Dorian and encouraging him to take advantage of this opportunity that he has now.
And when you watching this film, train your eyes with speed, man. What is the coverage? What am I giving this coverage? Like, if I stopped it right now, what coverage you think it is?
Single high, either man or zone.
Man, it look like a man. I think it's important knowing your personnel, okay? Early in the week, that's why I say I always watch first and second down. Man, I watch 2 games Monday, watch the pressures just to see if I can get some. 2 games Tuesday just to see if I'm getting the flow. Wednesday, I'm watching first and second downs. Man, can I get a bead on who they are, right? And then I watch third down so I can get ahead, right?
No, appreciate you.
Yeah. Anything you need, I got you.
All right, it's a look at the quarterback room on Hard Knocks. Catch it every week on Max. Gentlemen, some people would say it is not the starting quarterback. At the time, Winston had been starting to coach up the backup. We've heard guys before say, that's not my job. All right, how do you feel about that? Coaching up the guy that might take your job, veterans, rookies, young players.
I know Eric has a different story, but you know, you're coaching up a guy that's going to take your spot. Some people take that differently. Some people, you know, take it as in a response like, man, you taking food out of my mouth. You taking money from me and my family. Everybody in the NFL is their own business entity. Guys did that against me. And I won't say their names, but, you know, they put me in bad situations so I could not have success and not take their spot or not outshine them. It was a dog-eat-dog world back then, especially on bad football teams. It tends to be an inter-squad, you know, squabble and fight for tenure and positions, and it shouldn't be like that.
And when I look at Jameis doing this, it's because Jameis knows that he can produce on the field. He knows that he'll probably get a job somewhere because he's done it on multiple teams. He's thrown for a lot of yards. So everyone knows that he can pass the football. So I like that he's doing this with DTR. You know, when I got here in Cleveland, these guys, they brought me in, and they would coach the younger players because they were trying to win games. This team had been to a couple of AFC championships, but just couldn't get over the hump. So they were trying to do everything they could to win games, and that's what they did in helping us young guys.
Mac Biner, guys.
The Mac Biner, Reginald Horn, all these guys.
Absolutely love seeing that with DTR and Jameis. I said this to Jameis. I told him not too long ago, a few weeks ago, he looks like a coach on the field. Does he have coaching in his future? That looked like a coach to me. He looks like he can be a quarterback coach, soon to be offense coordinator and a head coach eventually in this NFL league. I know he has his sights set on something higher in management, but I think this is a guy, he could be a coach right away in the NFL if he chooses so.
Do you guys remember any young players you worked with when you were veterans?
Yeah, I worked with Leroy Horde, Randy Baldwin when they came because, like I said, we're trying to get better. I mean,
absolutely.
We all offer something different to a football team. So when I think about somebody trying to take my position, I didn't really think about it because we're all running backs, but they couldn't do what I could do, and I couldn't do what they could do. So if we're all encouraging each other and helping us to be better, we're trying to win games.
I'm built differently. I helped all my young guys. Everybody that came up under me, even for my spot. Travis Benjamin, I blocked for him on one of his touchdowns, even though I knew he was there to take my spot. Yeah. But it was what's meant for me is for me. You know, I had success while I wore the brown and orange, and I wasn't going to stand anybody else's way. I did me, and doing me was helping the young guys come up under me as well.
You mentioned the guys were very different. Yeah, Leroy Horde, Eric Metcalf. That is a thunder and lightning. Lightning ain't afraid of thunder taking his job, and vice versa. That is a real good duo. Tailgate continues here on 19. The Browns and Dolphins kick it off at 4. Here's our in-show poll, the Chutter Spectrum poll. Tyreek Hill or Jerry Jeudy? Who's getting more yards today? Cleveland19.com/vote.
We're not punting today, okay? Yeah! Yeah, let's go! Yo, I'm gonna call a play that necessitates you getting a completion. I'm playing to win the game. Let's go. Well, hello. Thank you. It's a bright light. Running clock, I'm gonna use all of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna be looking at you.
I'll be looking for you.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
All right.
All right. Good hand. Since you're out of timeout, you have to stay in the box now.
But dude, I love hanging out with you. I'm pretending like I'm gonna change this call. Hey, I'm gonna change this call. I'm not gonna change the call.
The Injury Report, sponsored by the man that makes them pay, Tim Misney.
McDaniel is such a character. Injury report, the big one here for the Browns, Njoku's still out. And that's not helpful when you got a quarterback like DTR who's still developing. David Njoku is as important to this offense as any team's, like, typical number 2 receiver. It's a big loss for them.
The loss for me that I'm looking at in that group is Tillman.
Okay.
When you talked about doubling Judy last week, another guy who would be on the radar would be a Tillman. He was a favorite, one of an emerging target for Jameis, even before Judy's breakout. He was a guy who was starting to emerge himself into, can he be a number 1? Sure-handed, catching the ball, and now he's out for another week. And I would have liked to see him under, with another, giving DTR another weapon out there on the field.
I go back, it's got to be Njoku. He's going to be greatly missed because when you have a young quarterback going through all these reads, the tight end can be your safety valve. If Judy's out there getting double teamed and all the other receivers aren't getting open, your tight end is usually somewhere in your sight, and you can get the ball to him and he can make plays. And so
he was out there last week. And he didn't receive the targets that I felt like he should have received. And because DTR is not your starter, he really doesn't have a favorite. He's not looking at Judy like Jameis was. He's spreading the ball around. He wasn't utilizing. If Jameis was the quarterback, now I see a guy like the Chief being a problem. But to somebody like DTR, he's not just looking at Njoku. He's looking at whoever is open. So Akins he's going to be an opportunity to get a lot of balls. I just think, with the Chief out there last week, it didn't show an increase. I look at fantasy a lot. His fantasy decreased, Judy's decreased, and that's because the ball can go to anybody.
But this goes back to coaching and preparation for me, because if Judy's getting doubled, then you should know that the tight end is going to be here. And although you don't have a favorite, this is always your safety valve, and that's where he has to be prepared to do. And we weren't prepared to do that.
We were talking earlier, we saw a little meeting with him and Winston, and you kind of felt like DTR maybe should be a little
further along, definitely. Yeah. Just looking at that, hearing how Jameis was talking to him, it was like how I talk to my son when reading coverages. Certain things at the NFL level, he has to know from just study. And not that he's behind or anything like that, he just probably needs to get on the film study. You see how adamant with passion that Jameis has? He's a veteran, a super veteran in his league that he should be running behind Jameis like a puppy. He's pouring into you. He should be telling him, like literally, like what we doing for breakfast, what we doing for dinner, to figure out how this guy, he throws for 500-something yards on average. Like this guy he throws interceptions here and there, but a lot. But he can throw the ball down the field. He reads the defense well. He makes things happen, and that's a guy you want to follow. And I just thought that defense was a question like that. Yeah. He should have had more. It looks like, man, because of this. Because of the telltale signs of the DB on the left, he's looking straight at that guy inside leverage. Or there's telltale signs that you see from certain DBs from just film study that he should have the telltale signs and know who they are. I did it as a special teams coach. You can read telltale signs throughout film study, and it just seemed a little far-fetched that he didn't know that.
This is why I said it goes back to coaching, because Jameis just got here.
Right.
DTR has been here. And so if you still feel like he's behind, these coaches should have been coaching him up so he could recognize the things that James was telling him just on sight.
He seemed too much like a rookie still.
I know, but he's been here.
Well, he was, I think, a 6th-round pick. So even though he's in his 2nd year, he was a project anyway. So that's still part of the reason he was considered behind it. I don't think when they drafted DTR, anyone ever said, should have said anyway, yeah, he might be a dude in this league. He might just be a guy that can make a play here or there. All right, Browns and Dolphins today, down on the lakefront at 4. We'll talk about this coming up next. Cleveland19.com/vote. If you want to jump in on that, we're all kind of surprised Tyreek isn't running away with this thing. Stick around.
Now, bench strength, sponsored by Wayside Furniture.
Talking bench strength because the Browns have used a lot of them. 2nd most players this year on IR or PUP. Somebody might point to that and say, well, that's why they have a bad year, except the top team, the Lions, a Super Bowl, I don't know, favorite, but certainly a Super Bowl contender. How much of an excuse is this for the Browns?
Well, I think it's valid because who goes down matters. Your quarterback is the guy that's on IR. You know, if you take a quarterback from that Super Bowl contender, the Lions, they're not Super Bowl contenders anymore. So it does matter who is on IR, but it also matters how do you replace them. You see, the Lions had depth on defense. They took Zadarius from us to keep themselves in, Super Bowl contention and to give their team a boost. So it also matters how you adapt. And other teams have been adapting well, and we haven't. Again, though, the factor of that is it's our quarterback that's on that IR. That changes everything. And the quarterback went on IR. Peyton Manning got hurt. The Indianapolis Colts, they lost every game. That's how they were able to get Andrew Luck. Yeah. So it matters when, certain positions are on IR versus others.
However, Carson Wentz got hurt, and then they won the Super Bowl without him.
He wasn't.
He got hurt, and they won the Super Bowl without him.
Right.
But it's one of those.
DeShaun was out last year, and we went to the playoffs.
Excuse, right. It's an excuse, but at the same time, it's the Lions, because of their injury, they are built to win. Still, they still have steady backups in every position. That's where we're lacking. Our guys weren't able to step in and make plays as their backers have been able to do.
It's front office thing, right?
Right.
It's not just that, though. These guys have to play. On paper, we look decent. If you look at our team, if we can rewind back to the beginning of the year with DeShaun, with our team that we have now, you look at them and everybody just knew, even from our roster. Why do you think we had so many primetime games that are now being flexed? On paper, we were a playoff, AFC contending, Super Bowl contending team. We were in the runnings on paper, and it looks good. If you go back, you'll see, but not now. Those guys still have to play up to their talent and their ability. We can blame the upper management. We can blame the coach, but on paper, 9 times out of 10, I would get these guys again, and they're supposed to just play like they're supposed to play, and the coaches have to coach like they're supposed to coach.
We've been running this poll all show of who will have more yards receiving. We do this every week. We pick something relative to the game. We tell you folks to go vote on it. 68% say Judy will have more yards in receiving than Hill. Both teams on backup quarterbacks. Tyler Huntley, presumably the starter. Tua listed as doubtful. Guys rarely play as doubtful. Huntley is a better backup to me than DTR, even though the Browns decided to keep DTR over Huntley. Is this result surprising to you? Because it sure is to me.
It's very surprising to me because we've seen Tyler Huntley be really good on the football field, especially when he was at Baltimore. He was able to make plays. I think he went to the Pro Bowl with them.
He did.
And so we know that he can be trusted to run their offense, and I think Mike McDaniel knows that, and so that's why he's going to put him out there with a chance to win this game, knowing that they have an outside chance of going to the playoffs. And whereas we don't know who DTR is yet. We don't know what he's going to give us from week to week, from play to play. And so it's hard for me to pick DTR throwing to Judy versus Tyler Huntley throwing to Tyreek Hill.
I would just say this. If it was Jameis Winston at quarterback, I'm okay with this.
Yep.
I'm okay with that stats. But because it's not Jameis Winston, I don't think that's right. And I think it's biased. I'm biased to the Browns, too, and all of his players. But this is not likely to happen. You saw that he had 3 targets last week. 3 targets after going on this run. Unless they're telling him to go to him every play, you're going to see the Miami Dolphins cover him like they're supposed to because he is a threat. So they're going to cover him and take away our passing game.
These are the fits for today. Traditional brown top, white pants, orange helmet. Check out with you guys.
Checks out with me.
I love it.
I love it.
You always wore home whites, didn't you? How often did you actually wear brown jerseys? You guys never wore the brown.
We didn't wear it that much.
Y'all had orange.
No, I didn't wear orange.
Oh, y'all.
We wore white most of the time. Especially when I first got here.
Go to Washington, go to Dallas. That was about the only time you guys ever wore the brown uniform. Anyway. All right, Browns and Dolphins today on the lakefront at 4 o'clock. Would have been a Sunday night game. NBC now seeing Huntley against DTR like, whoo! Dodged a bullet there. Yeah, they did. But Browns get a win. It'll look great to the folks in Cleveland. For Josh Cribbs and Eric Metcalf, I'm Mark Schwab.